Hey everyone, good morning. So I posted a whole bunch of videos today on the recession that Canada is in and how companies are being taken over by the Americans and how it's changing Canada. So the problem is that when you tell when you tell the operations managers, when you tell them you need to take care of your workers, you need to make sure your workers have proper breaks, accommodation, they have a living wage, they say, no, we have to cut costs. The only thing that matters is making the next profit. So as usual, putting profits ahead of people leads to poor customer service, whether it's Tim Hortons or whether it's in the banks or anywhere else. It leads to cutting corners so people can get good customer satisfaction surveys, and it leads to eventually companies closing. That's exactly what happened at TD Bank. That's exactly what happened at Tim Hortons. And it's just getting worse because the executive that are earning the millions, they keep saying, oh, we have to cut costs and salaries are our biggest problem. So why do you hire people then? Because you want robots. You don't want real people with real problems, with real health needs, with real families. You want somebody who's perfect, and then you ruin that person's health, then you get the next person in. You don't want to hire people who have Canadian skills and qualifications and are part of HRPA and working in the interests of the public. You want to bring in temporary foreign workers who you can tell what to do, who don't understand how the systems work, what their rights are, what their responsibilities are, or people like me. You want to bring in HR professionals and accountants and everybody else and get them into the top positions for a few years, maybe 4 years, like what I had at TD, and say, you see, look how successful they are. And then let them go, because you don't want them to get to that next level on the career rug. So you just pull that step out of the ladder and you put your people in the top positions. You send them to jobs in England, in Singapore, in Hong Kong, because they're your yes men. They're the people who are going to just do what you want them to do. And screw it if the systems fail. Screw it if the public gets affected. Screw it if families land up on the street. Because the only thing that matters to you is that they make that mortgage payment or they make that rent payment. And then it becomes so bad that it's like, okay, we have to do something. So then you put in social supports. You put in food banks, you put in temporary supports that are supposed to help people get into jobs, but you don't create the infrastructure. You don't create an economy that people want to invest in. And now there's nowhere left to go. Because unless you have a house to sell, and then you can take that and go invest that money in Dubai or in England, you're not part of the upper class that people want to come in. Before, countries wanted people who were educated, who had good values, who were going to look after the population as well as themselves, and who were going to make good choices. Now, they just want people with money. So you know what? Give me that money. Carter Foundation, you are investing money in Wits. Give me that 150,000 because I represent them here. Then I can help to train leaders at Wits on spiritual direction, on John Maxwell. I can go there and give retreats. So give me that money. Make it over 5 years and give me over $1 million. Invest in me. Because you know what? When I was at TD, all those years ago, I spoke up and I told them, this is not right what you're doing to me. You're laying me off. I just brought my mother in. I just brought my home. I bought my new condo. And their response was, that's not our problem. We will provide counseling for you. We will provide outplacement for you. And if there's an opportunity that comes up in the future, we will call you back. And they never did. They sent me for outplacement, yes. That outplacement doesn't do anything. It just provides a place for you to come once a week to share what you're doing on your job search, prepare you, give you the ideas of how you can do your 3-minute introduction and dress and all the things that you know already anyway. So they give them millions of dollars to have this outplacement. Give me that money, I'll do the outplacement. So I'll come when you lay people off, you terminate people, you want them to have a support system, somebody to hold them accountable, I'll come do it for you. Because HRPA doesn't have that anymore in place, so let me do it. I can set up small groups for you, for your business, and I can meet with them. I can meet up to 3 people in my home. You give me that money, I'll be an accountability partner for them. I'll help them. I've helped people with their resumes, with dressing, with understanding the Canadian culture. Because the right thing to do, what TD should have done, was found me a position. It didn't have to be in Canada. It could have been in England. It could have been in Ireland. It could have been somewhere else, in Scotland, through their partners or through the bank itself, and placed me there and said, you know what, we don't have anything. Not force me to take a step back in my career, not force me to take wage cuts. And that's what they're doing. That's what Teleperformance also did. Instead of them giving us 3 minutes between calls, they made it now 30 seconds. And then they gave us a 50-cent increase after 2 years. Big, multi-billion-dollar company. And they expect you on $11.25 an hour to pay for your rent, to pay for your insurance, to pay for your cell phone, to pay for everything else, your internet, and work at home. So this is not a modern day country. This is not what you call a good country, because that's not how people live. Maybe, yeah, if there's 6 of you living in an apartment all earning $11.25 an hour, then yeah, maybe you can be slaves and all pool your money and survive. Because that's what Indians do when they come here. 6 or 7 of them will share a place, they'll pool their money, they'll pay that rent, and then they'll move on from there and they'll buy properties. Well, I didn't have the luxury of doing that, and neither did I want to do that. Because I came into this country as a graduate. I came in with money to invest. I didn't go and sponge off the system. I went from the airport to my brother-in-law's home and my sister's home, and I lived with them. And then after that, I moved out and I rented a place, and I paid my rent. And in difficult times like this, the government is doing nothing to implement a basic income. They're laying off more and more people. They're laying off people that could easily hold jobs. They're bringing in more temporary foreign workers. They're bringing in more people that have foreign credentials and saying we're going to fast track them and we're going to get them into the good paid jobs. And what about those of us who are sitting at home, who have made good decisions, who have supported Canada, who have represented Canada on the world stage, have done the volunteering, have helped the priests, have helped people integrate? What about us, Doug Ford? Where are those jobs for us? Where's the support for us to get us into those jobs? Why are you bringing more people in and fast-tracking them? You're going to bring them here and then you're going to put them into low-paid jobs. That's what's going to happen. That's exactly what happened to me. I spent all my money educating myself, retraining, going to Rotman, providing solutions for companies. And of course, the executive who are earning their millions and have stocks and have shares and have good pensions and retirement plans, they refuse to increase the wages of people like me who were sitting at $40,000 a year. I don't even earn that now because I had to take minimum wage just to get a stable job because I couldn't get anything. And then they fined the banks millions, but they kept everybody there. So the people that made those decisions are still making the same decisions. On the boards, at the executive level, they're still there. And they're still smiling. They're still getting their paychecks. Rona Ambrose, she's at TD. She's a conservative. Pierre Poilievre should take her up on what they're doing, on the systems they're implementing, on not getting people who are educated and qualified into jobs and supporting them like me. That's exactly what's happening. When I'm saying it, I don't have the millions of followers because I'm presenting solutions. Everyone else is just talking about how people are leaving the country, how bad it is, how people can't pay their rent, how people are using food banks, how the Canadian dream is sold, and actually the reality when you come here is the opposite. So they don't want the solutions. They don't want you to tell them how to make it better. They don't want you to tell them, accommodate people. They'd rather pay that fine and just say, yeah, you know what, on next one. Because it doesn't affect their families until they lose a child, until it's them who are suffering with the hearing problems. They should put all those executives at Teleperformance on the calls. Give them back-to-back calls, put the police through like they put them through to me, and hear them say, here we go. And give them a hard time, grill them, abuse them, shout at them, not for 1 year, for 6 years. Maybe then they'll change. They should take everything away from the executive at TD. Maybe then they'll change. Instead of posting articles about, oh, how are you going to make your payment? What are you doing as bankers, as executive, as politicians, to fix things for the people like me who are already here? Because we're doing our share. We are showing people how we're homemakers, how we're Maxwell speakers, how we're bringing good solutions to the table. And then people still let us go. They still put us in minimum wage. They still accuse us of being delusional because the same bank that told you to go and report something will turn around and say they don't know anything. And then when the airport tells you, go and report this, we are sorry this happened, the police haul me to the police station. This is not going to end well for Canada. You want to talk about it not ending well for me? It's not going to end well for America. It's not going to end well for Canada. And the crisis that could have been avoided by listening to me and listening to people like me is now an economic problem. So you know what? It's good for you because you insisted that my salary was too high at $40,000 a year or $50,000 a year when I should have been earning $120,000 a year. You refused to increase my salary. You told me at TD's, take a step back in your career and then we'll promote you later. So instead of you taking that step back in your career and taking that wage cut as an executive, you want to put it on the people who are the most vulnerable, the people who are under the most pressure, the people who are supporting you and propping you up. And then when your prop is gone, then the shit hits the fan. Just like it did for Teleperformance, for TD, for Scotiabank, for all these companies. Instead of doing what they're doing, they should be looking at how they can bring people like me into the workplace. Give us those HR management jobs. Give us those management jobs in communication. Hire us as Maxwell speakers and workshop builders to help transform your workplace. I transformed Teleperformance when I was there. I partnered with the senior executives. I partnered with the operations managers, and things got better because of me, and people knew it, but they're not willing to make the exception. That's the problem. They're not willing to make the exception to give me that extra bonus, that extra break. They're not willing to say, you know what, we know how good she is. Let's bring her in at the right level with the right pay. Why? Because they're too interested in supporting the people that they came up with in their careers. And they don't respect the education either. People respect the education in Africa. If you went to school, if you educated yourself, you studied, you had the tenacity to graduate, not commit suicide, not have a mental health breakdown, you should be respected. Because many of us did it without any family around us. That's the difference between here and Africa. Why do you think all the foundations and everyone are sending the money to Africa? Why aren't they sending that money here to Canada? Why aren't they giving me that money here in Canada? That's why I told Wits, you guys send me the funding from there, do it from there. Because when I ask for it here for you, they don't send it. The Carter Foundation's starting to send money there to Africa. They must send me some of that money. They should invest it in me here, because I'm worth it.